Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Dinnerhe as part of their custom monthly music review. Today we'll be checking out a track by an act named Hikaru Utada titled First Love. And if we switch over to here, getting used to a new way of doing my little buttons, you can see I've got a little intro time thing up there as well. We've got different buttons. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish to hear what we think. And just before I get into this, there will be lyrics at the end. Okay, so yeah, let's make it full screen and let's go. Apparently this is really beautiful. Yeah, my understanding is that like Netflix redid this video, or like this is a new video or something like that. Apparently this master is a lot louder than the original, but that's fine because this is off Hikaru Utada's debut album. Interesting vocal style alongside those guitars, the strings and the piano. It's very pretty. Crazy to think this came out in 1999. Can I just need to adjust something really quickly. Yeah, that was just something that was annoying me on the playback, but that's all sorted now. You're always gonna be my love. So the first love is the one that's kind of forever. Okay, so we've got like 6 bars per half of the chorus stanza. That's cool. Lots of emotion in this vocal performance. Like, it sounds like there's a lot of gravity in what she's saying. She's really feeling every note that comes out of her mouth. Nice use of repeaters there in that space. I mean, clearly she's a talented singer, very polished in his vocal performance there, and emotionally it's very authentic and genuine. I think as well, just the rolling of that bass and the low end to kind of follow along to the chord progressions and the strings we had earlier is a nice bit of development in this verse. A little bit of legato there. The strings flutter, a sense of nostalgia, and the distance with those chords on the right. I think the reason this is louder is because Netflix they've mastered this for broadcast, as opposed to what they would usually do is allow a bit more dynamic range. There's a different way of mastering music when you're going to use it for movies or when you're going to use it for other things, and I think that they've overcompressed this a little bit, which is a little bit disappointing. It's not unpredictable. Charming vocal harmonies there with that reverb tail. Nice key change. Really subtle drum. I don't like the sound of the drums in this. I think they're too quiet. It would have been much more impactful, I think, if they'd allowed a little bit more of that through, but again, I think that's because of a lack of dynamic range on the master bus. It's very blocky sounding, you know? Nice breathy voice there. Is it just simply because we're trying to reduce the amount of change the perceived loudness in their vocal performance? I don't know, man. I enjoyed the song. I think it covers most of the pop music fundamentals. It reminds me of the 90s, and I think it's a really strong track that shows off Hikaru Utada's best assets, you know? It'd be good to look through the lyrics to this. I think the arrangement is really interesting. I think that I like the way that we carried ourselves, the orchestral arrangement, but time Hikaru Utada, what they were doing. First Love 2022 mix. Nah, I don't think they did a good job with the master. It sounds commercial grade for today's world, but it sounds like they were stuck in the loudness wars of the early 2010s and didn't get out. And we got the lyrics here, of course, for the song First Love. We got no, 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 oh yeah. We'll make it bigger as well so people can see it. I can tell it's been a little while since I did this. Our last kiss had a tobacco flavor. It was a bitter and painful fragrance. Makes sense. I wonder where you'll be tomorrow at this time and who you'll be thinking about. Really not keen on the ads I'm getting here. I really wish they'd go away. But it's because I'm using Opera, which of course, it's fine. You know, it works well for a browser. It's just more difficult to block ads than on Google, but that's okay. I'd rather use Opera than Google Chrome. Potentially a hot take. You're always going to be my love, even if someday I fall in love with somebody once again. Yeah, okay. Alright, so the last kiss was bitter. They'll always be in love. Full of things I don't want to forget. Okay, I mean, like, for a debut single, or a debut off of first track off of the debut album, it's good. Because this is the conclusion of my review of this track by Hikaru Utada, First Love, as part of SP Patrons Custom Monthly Music Review. You know, what did I think this song was about? Well, I mean, I've already spoken about it in the lyrics, haven't I? It's about someone who is recognizing that the love they had for someone, they're having to move on from it, and hang on a minute. And now that we've finally got the album art, or the art for it behind us, let's talk about this track. You know, let's do the conclusion, because what is this track about? I think that this track is about someone, again, who has going over the love, their first love, the one they lost from the video. They went off and did some military service or something like that. But yeah, the last kiss, you know, had the tobacco on it. It was bitter. They, you know, they moved apart because they had to. They didn't want to let go of those memories because time was frozen, but they eventually realized they had to move on. And they did. You know, they got to a point in a place where, you know, they realized that they'd still be in love, but that they just have to find, if they found someone else, they'd have to cope with it. And so I think that's a cool thing to write a song about. I think that, you know, it's something a lot of people will be able to resonate with. Got no complaints with that whatsoever. Makes sense for a song title, and it's, you know, it's a universal experience, I think. The vocals from Hikaru Utada in this were fantastic. Showed a head and chest voice, a little bit of the breathiness of the high-end falsetto there. You know, very emotionally authentic performance, carried herself really well, and it was nice and organic. You know, great choices of notes within the scale shapes and harmonized well with the chords that we had in the background of this piece. So that was good, you know, musically sound. Nice use of vibrato and legato in some of those passages there. Interesting variation of the tails of those melodies and those line sequences there. We also had really sort of fantastic harmonies that happened there occasionally, like in those hook sections, as well as repeaters where like we had just the voice kind of repeating itself as per the use of the word repeater, but in a way where it's like, oh, okay, it's filling in space, but we don't necessarily need to tell more of a story. I think that told the story that it needed to do within like 4 minutes. I don't think there was any filler in it story-wise or vocal-wise. I don't think the song would have needed to have been longer than this. I think it's really palatable, and for people who are fans of music of this genre, they'll adore it. You know, I know there's a lot of hardcore Hikaru Utada fans out there, and for good reason. She's a fantastic singer. I mean, the track behind it, you know, was a 4.5 minute piece or a 4-minute piece there, which was just outside the typical 2 to 4 minute sort of amount of time there. But it was okay because, again, I don't think there was any filler instrumentally as well. You had a nice arrangement of various elements, including the keys and the guitar parts with steel strings, like those nice little harmonies on the side there. And the bass and the drums come in later on as well, as well as a few other sort of elements there. And I think there was enough instruments within this arrangement to keep things interesting and engaging. We had a pseudo ballad format here where we had some of them at first and we led on with the bass and the drums later on, which made sense for a love song like this. If you're going to stick with similar chord progressions and melodic kind of ideas, don't give the audience everything at once, give it bit by bit. So that was great. You know, we handled that really adeptly. I think that was skillfully sorted. The performances on those instruments were fantastic. We had a relative minimalism to each of the different ingredients within it, but we didn't overplay those instruments. I liked that a lot. Clearly we could play the piano well. We had some interesting articulations there in that mid-range there, with a catchy sort of soothing melody there that really sort of made you feel nostalgic and a sense of loss for Hikaru, as if you were that person themselves. And I think for the music to make it more relatable and interpersonal, I think is a wonderful thing. It's really cool to when you have the right instruments together and there's a sense of synergy with the tones and timbres. I think that strings will always work well with piano. They sort of niche well each other, both in this frequency spectrum, but also just, you know, in regards to their purposes and what they do. The smoothness of the strings works well with the sort of, even with a bit of reverb on it. Pianos are still reasonably punchy in their own right, but without the bass response of those kicks and then the portamento bass on the bottom, and the guitars panned on the side there with various elements left and right sort of coming in were a smart idea as well. So that was really cool. I think that what we had going on with like the different sort of verse chorus sections was fine. You know, like we had really smooth transitions between that. There weren't massive amounts of fluctuations in energy levels or anything like that performance wise, primarily because I think this is more of a sort of commercial safe sort of production by whoever was involved in this. I kind of wish I'd listened to the older version to be able to compare the two, but again, it's one at a time. So that's absolutely fine. Maybe I'll get to listen to this track again later on, but I think in regards to studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering, I think that Netflix kind of overdid it a little bit. I don't think that this track needed to be as compressed as it was. It didn't seem like there was a lot of dynamic range to the performance, which was a shame. Everything kind of felt like it was squeezed on the master bus with the limiting and such. You know, the vocals were recorded really well, so sweetly and succinctly, and you can hear every note nice and clearly. The guitars had a fantastic filtering and effect and a sheen to them, a shimmer that shone well in the mix on the sides of the stereo field. The bass slid on nicely with the drums and they were nicely sidechained, so there weren't any issues there. The tom fills could have used a little bit more oomph from the low end, but that's absolutely fine. You know, it's just a stylistic thing, I suppose, at this point. The piano was delicate and articulate and filled in a nice sort of sense of extra nuance there in terms of the arrangement and the extra notes and the extensions there, which I appreciate, because I think if you played it too safely with the chord triads that you had in the harmonies, even if it was engaging to listen to Hikaru Utada, and even if you are a fan of this type of music and don't need more than it, it still even then I think would have been a little bit stale. Again, considering this is the first track off of the debut album from Hikaru Utada, I think this is a fantastic first effort. I think that she ought to be proud of herself, and I just want to say congratulations on getting the Netflix series First Love, because this is my SP Patrons review, my video of Hikaru Utada's First Love. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go check out their various social medias and, you know, their YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SP Patrons video. Spiderhands out.